I have lived in Juba for a week and a half, and I am feeling it because people call you, people tell you their problems, and even when you go to the markets, speak to traders, they say the prices of things are no longer what they used to be. And the common men and women are really struggling to put food on the table. Mr. Minister, this is within your docket. The government is, the people are looking to the government for a solution. And at the same time, they also think the government should really do something so that people can have food on the table. What is happening?
Of course, it is the duty of the government to make sure that there is food on every table, every South Sudanese table. And this is an overall policy by all the governments of the world. But here comes in the difference between the countries, as the case may be. There are some countries there that have sufficient resources and they are capable of rendering those services. And there are some countries that are grappling with other things. And as such, they cannot actually provide food on the table for the people, for its people. South Sudan is one of them. It's one of them because the problems that are heaped for South Sudan to resolve are so many. And our resources, even though the civil society is asking where our money is going, our money is
quite a legitimate question.
We
have oil.
Yes, our money, even if you have the oil, it doesn't mean that that money of the oil is just open and it flows like that. Of course, the production has its own limitations. The market prices have their own limitations. Our world commitments, international commitments, they have our own implementations. Implementation of the agreement itself has its own implementations. And above all, yes, our implementation of the agreement with all the concerns where you have thousands of MPs at present. You have 650,000 MPs at the national level.
National and state, or
national level only. The State Council of States and the National Assembly, there are 650. There are 100 members in each state. And we have 10 states and 3 administrative areas. These are members of parliament alone. And then you go to the staff. So you find that, in fact, South Sudan is the country where there is real overemployment, overstaffing. And as such, we are overspending. So the whole budget, whatever comes from the oil, goes to these institutions for them to function.
But these institutions have not been paid also for a long time. Civil servants have not received their salaries for a long time.
Don't say they have not received. They have been receiving.
When was the last time?
When was the last time? Yeah. The last time was last week. We are in January, we are in July.
We still have arrears, Honorable. We still have an issue of arrears.
Okay, yes, there are arrears. There are arrears, but we are paying.
Okay. And I've just been reminded that we have 10 minutes left, so I would want to make good use of that 10 minutes. I give you an opportunity, Minister Stephen Parr, to chart the way forward. Election is coming in 2023. I have seen your one partner from the agreement is warming up, mobilizing its members. That's the SPLM in government. They are warming up, mobilizing their members, saying, come rain, come sunshine, we must have elections.
Well,
in 2 minutes, give us your reading on how do you see the slow implementation impacting the democratic transition?
It will impact it big time because the agreement is very clear on what to do before the elections. In Chapter 2, we are talking about security arrangements. You know that the cause of most of the turmoil in Africa happened after what you call post-election violence. You need to organize.
Are you predicting it in South Sudan?
I'm just telling you this one. You cannot take a country with two armies to the election. That's one thing. The other thing is there is a provision for drafting constitution, which will tell you what kind of government we are electing people to. There must also be a census done for us to draw out and map out our constituencies. The electoral law is also not reviewed and amended and ascended into law yet by the president. So whoever is talking about election now is not in his right mind. I don't even think that the SPLM, SPLA, I mean the SPLM party meant elections.
But I've seen the Secretary General traveling from one state to another, calling on its members to turn out.
I think they are just organizing themselves. We are also, as IO, organizing ourselves. But about elections, you need to look critically at the provision of the agreement. Governments are established by constitutions, not government establishing constitution. It is a permanent constitution which we are going to make. That will establish that system of government to which you elect officials.
Thank you. Lorna, these delays, the things that we have discussed here, the economy, the lack of political will, the unified forces still at cantonment sites, how is that going to impact the democratic transition? Because at the end of the transitional period, there has to be something done. How is this going to impact?
Thank you very much. It's definitely going to impact the transition.
How?
The desire of the people is that at least South Sudan should transit from this kind of arrangement into a normal governance system by 2023. But unfortunately, the way things are right now, it's not feasible to conduct elections 60 days before end of the transitional period. And I fear for my two fellow panelists that if nothing is done, the institutions that they head are going to lose legitimacy. And we are going to have a country that have a government, yes, they can still go to their offices, but not legitimate. And I think this is a very difficult question for the country. It's important we start thinking of the way forward. Again, back to where I started from. We need to develop instruments for actualizing what we have planned. Right now, we are looking at constitution-making process, we are looking at elections coming, but if you look at the state of electoral commission right now, you will be out of this world to think that they will conduct election. And I want to come back to what Honorable Michael said earlier. Perhaps we need to, if we talk about help from the internationals, we need to define the kind of help. And I think election is an area where we might need to call for help from outside to be able to conduct a credible, free, fair election in South Sudan.
Thank you. Minister Michael Makui, the people that we speak to are saying doing elections in an environment that is in South Sudan today is a recipe for disaster. They're saying security is a major concern. It's an open secret that chiefs of organized forces went to Tonj to quell down a situation there where some senior officers were shot. And this is just an example of other crises that are in the places. Is the government still set to move forward with its plan for elections after the transitional period?
Yes, in fact, when we say the government, I don't think that we are sitting here as government. I'm sitting here as SPLM, he is an IO, as you can see. But when we go and sit in the cabinet, we are the government.
You're one.
When we perform our functions and duties, we are one. But when we are expressing opinions, we are different. So I represent my party, and he represents his party. This is why he said we are organizing, preparing for the... And in fact, his chairman declared, it is in the newspapers, that we are going for elections.
How about your chairman? How about your chairman?
For me,
I will have to correct that.
Let's come back to him. Let's give him an opportunity to finish, then you come back to him.
For me, I say we cannot put the cart before the horse. from now up to January, up to February, is enough time. There is still space for us to implement some of the provisions that have not yet been implemented. That is one. Number two, it is not us here who will be deciding the fate of the agreement and as to whether people will go for elections or not. It is the principals who are signatory to the agreement that will sit.
You're talking of the 5 vice presidents?
Not the five vice presidents are not signatories, are not the only signatories to the agreement. And they are not signatories to the agreement. But principals, the parties who are signatory, the SPLM in government, the IO, the OPP, SOA, and FDs. These are the signatories to the agreement. These are the people who will sit and decide based on the evaluation that they will get. Each and every party is, I presume, is at present making its own evaluation and everything, so that when time comes, they will be in a position to sit and decide. So I cannot talk at this time as to whether there will be elections or not.
Stephen Parr, you have something burning.
Yeah,
I want to close with that so that we can move forward. Just briefly, 1 minute.
I agree.
1 minute.
I agree with Honorable Michael that he can speak for his party. But it's wrong for him to speak for my party. The position, the political position of the SPLM IO now, and that is what our chairman, Dr. Riek Machar, said last Saturday. And this needs to come very clearly. We are not afraid of election as a party. We are just saying that the conditions for elections are not there. And the conditions set for elections in the agreements are very clear. They are actually the major stipulation of the agreement. Should the major stipulations of the agreement, such as census, constitutional making process, and other political arrangements happen to be in place, like Honorable Makwe is now predicting, I hope his predictions are correct. If his prediction come true, the SPLM, SPLA, IO will be ready to go for election.
Let's end it on that high note that you, the SPLM, IO, will be ready when the conditions are conducive. Thank you very much, distinguished guests, and my sister here for turning up for this fruitful and peaceful discussion. I must say this was a nice South Sudan dialogue that ended up peacefully.